Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about something that I am actually I don't want to say excited to talk about, but it's definitely, funnily enough, something that I'm really passionate about. The reason for that, well, we'll get into in just a little bit, but feel free to grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a blanket. I've got one right here because I am just freezing. It's the middle of winter, we got fireplace. Probably by the time I upload this, it's gonna be like spring or something, but thank you so much for being here. First, makeup. Okay, all right, so I got myself some red. It's a little bit of governor. Cheers to you, my darling. I'm currently sat on a very expensive rug, but a very sentimentally special rug that my parents purchased a long while ago. So I'm gonna be doing my best throughout this video to not spill governor on this vicinity on this area. Otherwise, this will be the last video you guys see from me in a while. Whatever. Anyway. Yeah. I wanted white. Looked everywhere. Nearly broke a bottle of Prosecco. That wasn't good. Found a little beer. Not a beer gal. Might have a sip in like a European country. Something like that. Maybe like Austria or, I don't know, Switzerland, Germany. Not in the UK. Don't get me to have beer. Beer? Wow. Beer here. Beer here. If anyone knows how to do that whole thing, can you comment it down below? Can I not talk? This is not good. If I can't talk, we're gonna be in for a rough time today because this is a video and a half. You know what? I'm glad I found a red. I'm glad I've got red. You know, it goes. I had this look planned out a while ago. It just works. Red is the theme, darling. Purpose and passion, baby. Red is the theme. So, you guys have seen the title, all right? Maybe you have your exams coming up. Maybe you've just chosen your GCSEs and you're thinking about your A-levels. Maybe you're doing your A-levels. Maybe you realize you've picked the wrong thing and you're having a panic and you don't know who to talk about it. Either way, I'm here. I really hope you can find value in my content. If not, I know there are other people obviously that have touched on this, but this is just my personal take and it's largely based off of my own experience and also what I have witnessed. And call me biased, but I think that it is reasonably helpful. So without further ado, let's get into it. So today, to put it simply, what we will actually be discussing, I've got my notes here as always, is the difference between purpose and passion, if purpose and passion is actually relevant to your career, and if so, to what extent, and lastly, how to figure out what to do after school and if university is actually for you. Who is this video for? Any 16 or 17-year-olds who are lost or stressed, confused about what to do with their lives, or any older people like teachers, parents, guardians that don't know how to advise these younger people with what to do with their lives, especially the younger people who are very, very, very confused, just like I was back in the day. Leading me into the next part, the intro/backstory segment. Feel free to skip past this if it doesn't interest you, but this is just to give you guys an idea of what I went through when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And you might be able to relate. So if you're feeling alone in your experience of this, just listen to the following and you might find that your story has overlaps with mine. So I've written here, this is the video that I'd wish I'd had 6 years ago when I was super stressed out about what to do with my life because everybody was asking me the wrong questions. Questions that went a lot like this. So what do you want to do with your life? Who do you want to be? What's that one thing that you're passionate about above all else? What's that one thing that you could see yourself doing for the rest of your life? What's that one thing that you would do even if you weren't being paid for it because it just doesn't feel like work to you? And where do you see yourself in 10 years? Or 5 years? And if I responded with anything that was less than the perfect or expected answer, something like, I'm not too sure at the moment, or I haven't thought that far ahead, or I can't pick just one thing, I might have heard, oh, so you just want to work at a supermarket for the rest of your life then? Or a disappointed look and a pitiful, oh. Honestly, no one knew what to do with me, how to help me with my confusion. I watched countless TED Talks. I remember this distinctive memory about getting home, sitting down in front of the TV and watching this TED Talk about how to find your passion. And I thought that I would figure everything out that evening and Lo and behold, of course I didn't. I bought the book Ikigai and I discovered Jay Shetty in a quest to figure out what that one thing would be that would be the answer to all of my questions and the solution to all of my problems. But you see, the problem wasn't that I wasn't able to answer these questions as I'd initially thought for like 5 years, but rather that I was being asked the wrong questions. Now, don't get me wrong, I know all of these questions were asked with good intentions, but sometimes these well-meaning questions can come across as slightly insulting or demeaning, especially if that young person is perhaps unconventional, or moving slower than their peers, or perhaps just moving in a different direction altogether. So let's make it very clear. Just because a person doesn't want to do what's normal, it does not mean that they're not a hard worker, that they're not incredibly smart, that they're not going to be successful, or that they can't experience happiness. Listen to this one. Your version of success as a 50 plus something adult or even 30 plus something adult can look very different to a young person, I say 17, 18 type young person's version of success. Neither is better or worse, just different. Sorry, I was just feeling like a savage when I wrote this. But a degree does not directly equate to success, and young people do not exist to satisfy what you, as a grown adult with their own life to make the best of, think is what's best. By asking these sort of finite questions, you set young people up for failure from the get-go. Either you do a degree, or you work, or you do something really wow, or you're a disappointment, or a failure. Now, what choice is that? Remember, these people look up to you for approval, whether you realize it or not. We have to remember, it's the 21st century. There are alternatives. There is a gray area. The career climate is changing and it continues to change, especially now with the use of social media. So with that being said, let's talk about how to define purpose and passion so that we can actually figure out if it's relevant to the career choices young people make. Chapter 1, the difference between purpose and passion. So I'm going to shamelessly read off of my list. This is how I define the two. Purpose is when you find yourself in flow seamlessly. It bleeds into everything you do, your je ne sais quoi. The questions that you feel naturally inclined to answer in your life, perhaps. The environments that you are continuously drawn to. Most likely, not a job or degree title, because we did not come into this world with 3D concepts like that. For example, something within the study of medicine allows you to tap into your purpose, which could be healing, or perhaps the study of science, medicine in itself not being your specific purpose maybe. Or, for example, the passion you have for your business degree could be what allows your purpose to exist and come into fruition. Purpose feels steadier, like a cause you are devoted to no matter what. Sometimes it feels like a marriage where there aren't always sparks, but you're committed to it no matter what. It feels authentic, not forced. And even on your worst day, when you have had your worst things happen and you're filled with self-doubt, if someone told you to leave that thing, you'd be tempted, incredibly tempted, but you just can't shake it. Motivation for this is deeply intrinsic, a problem you can't help but want to solve no matter what it puts you through. Sounds like a right headache, right? But if any of you have tapped into that, you also know how rewarding it can be. Whereas passion can be a state of flow, but more exciting, less deep. Whatever you're interested in or your natural hobbies may be the way you picked your GCSEs, the things you Google in your free time, or what topics you find most interesting in a conversation. Caveat, very important to note, and this is where I got confused so many times in the past. Passion can come from really, really hard work, even hard work that isn't actually your purpose or something that's meant for you, but you have become really good at it, where you have that sweet spot of your work being challenging yet not impossible, making it incredibly rewarding, fueling a level of passion for it. You know, maybe you were in a class in school and it wasn't your favorite subject, but you had a great teacher, and then that great teacher taught you a few methods and you're like, oh my god, I love this, sure, I'll do the homework on time. That, but like any other time you were in that class with any other teacher, that was the worst experience for you in the whole wide world. Yeah, think of that as a metaphor. Think of that as an analogy for what passion can also be like. Don't let I guess you could say a one-off good experience trick you into thinking that that's what you got to do with your life. More on that in a minute. For example, I am passionate about making quality coffees or drinks, because I used to work at a coffee shop, but that is not my purpose. Similarly, some elements of my business degree that I used to study, I developed a passion for them even though they're not me whatsoever. Motivation for this can come and go. It's more easily affected by a bad day. Why is this important to know? Whew, honey, let me tell you, you need to be able to distinguish between both of them, because making a career choice based off of either could actually be really not sustainable for you in the long term. And that is a misconception that a lot of people have too. They talk about making your passion your work or doing work that is purposeful. And I, to be honest, mostly agree with the latter, but we will get onto that more in a minute. I would actually say that's more of an end goal. But doing either is not necessarily the answer. For example, you can be incredibly passionate about making art, but if you're not passionate about, or at least willing to make that art make money for you, then you're probably going to struggle, at least long-term career-wise. Additionally, very importantly to note, passion ebbs and flows. So your relationship with said passion could actually be put under a lot of strain given the financial strain that now exists within this relationship, where before it was an outlet and now it's just a headache. Alternatively, your purpose could be to revolutionize the way that a certain niche of businesses is run. But if you don't actually want to have the lifestyle of a business person, or perhaps the money you would make from living that way is not on par with the lifestyle you want to live right now, then maybe that's not a viable career choice for you either, at least for the moment. You have to honestly ask yourself, is it worth monetizing my purpose or my passion? Sometimes these things are truly best left as hobbies or things studied on the side. The thing is, at the end of the day, you want to be able to make a realistic decision for yourself. And when I say realistic, I don't mean settling or doing something to make it so that you fit in and you do just what's conventional for the sake of it, but more so that you find a lifestyle or you make decisions in accordance with your true self and your actual wants in this life. Leading me into Chapter 2, if purpose and passion is actually relevant to your career, and if so, to what extent? If I were to honestly argue which out of the two is more relevant to your career, I would definitely say purpose, because the reality is that you're going to spend, honestly, take a shot every time I say the reality is. I edit my videos and I say that so many times. I know there are other things, but I can't think of them at the moment. Take a shot every time. So the reason I choose that is because you're actually going to spend a lot of time and probably money investing into this, your job or your career, etc. And you want it to be worth it. You're going to be spending a lot of time there in whatever job it is that you choose to do. And if I were to tell you which out of the two you want to go for, I would say the latter, purpose, because I do think that as humans we desire meaning. We crave meaning in our lives, and the quickest way to do that, if you were to pick out of the two, is purpose. However, the issue sometimes that arises is that our purpose is not actually something that can pay us well. Perhaps that isn't an issue for you, in which case great, go ahead and pick a degree or a job which is perfectly in alignment with your purpose. But in the case that your purpose can't actually provide you with a lifestyle that you wish to lead, then I think it's time we got to the basics of things. Now I want to bring up my handy dandy Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a very basic but well-known model that depicts the order of needs that motivate people. So I'm gonna insert a little image for you guys here, maybe. Micah, thank you. So, as you guys may be able to see, I'm gonna make it full screen now. At the bottom, we have physiological needs. So this is breathing, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep. Then we have safety and security, health, employment, property, family, and social ability, love and belonging, friendship, family, intimacy, sense of connection, self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of others, the need to be a unique individual, and self-actualization, morality, creativity, spontaneity, acceptance, experience, purpose, meaning, and inner potential. Obviously, there's been a lot of debate around this. I actually had to study this like, my God, nearly 3 years ago now. There are plenty of people that have come in, taken tiers out, added stuff in, but that's not what this video is about. It is the most basic model, like I said, and a lot of people base their papers and study of motivation off of Maslow's initial work. So we're gonna use it. It's pretty universally known and understood. So stick with me. This part is key. If you're 17, 18, listen. If you've been zoning out for the rest of the video, just listen to me for this one, okay? You need to understand that as an adult, you right there, yes you, not the person behind you, you are responsible for everything in the triangle. Everything. And the most important or first layer of needs is the bottom part. Okay, and what was the bottom part? Breathing, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep. So the basics to keep you alive. Meaning, it's time to get practical, honey. AKA, now's not the time to be thinking about being a superstar if you don't actually have a plan in place. To be honest, in my notes, I've actually even written the next tier, which is your security needs too, which I actually think is more than understandable. You want to be safe and healthy and all of that too, right? There's no point in just being alive if you're not healthy. So you need to note that if your purpose does not pay you and you want to live a certain lifestyle, you need to at least be able to cover the bare minimum of that triangle. So what does this mean for you? And what do you do, especially if you still want to do purposeful work? So here, this is where things get a little fun. Okay, I'm sorry for holding it like this. I should be holding it like this, but I just, sometimes you just want to be chill and just want to keep things casual. Hold it like this. It's good. So here I want to bring up Ikigai, the book that I frantically tried to read the night before my A-level results day. My God, what a memory. I was literally under the covers with my phone torch, going through that damn book. You know when you're like reading under the duvet and you're trying to make it so that the pages don't like, you need them to stay open, but like you also want to be comfortable at the same time. You're trying to find a good position to like read in. And I was under the covers because I didn't want the light to disturb my family. That was the whole thing. I really thought I was going to figure out what to do with my life in the span of 2 hours. Again. What a clown. What a clown. I guess it's a good thing we're wearing red lipstick, but... Anyway. If you guys haven't heard of Ikigai, honestly, I can't remember all the details and stuff, but it's a great book for discovering your purpose and all of that stuff. I actually never ended up finishing it. So, I can actually kind of understand why I stayed confused and lost for such a long time. But anyway, if you don't want to read the book and you need a little more help, then I'm also here. So the ideal career choice would be Ikigai. If you can find something right in the sweet spot in the middle. So that is the thing. I'm going to pull up a diagram for you guys. Again, take your time, look at it, analyze it, annotate it if you want, whatever. So in the middle, you have Ikigai, which is basically an overlap of passion, mission, profession, and vocation. I'm going to stay like this just a little bit so you can spend some time. You can see there are 4 circles, so it's a Venn diagram basically. What you want to do, if you can't find your Ikigai, you want to go with profession, okay? Profession. Basically, you need to find something that you're good at that you can be paid for. Why? Well, let me tell you. Because honestly, guys, it's easier to do something you're good at and be paid for it than to do something that you're bad at and be paid for it. Far more sustainable because you'll be happy. And don't think that happiness isn't important, because it is. Ask any, I was going to say functioning adult. I don't know about that. Ask any adult. Ask any adult and they will tell you the importance of happiness. Being happier, in case you've forgotten, being happier, the advantages to that, A, you'll be in a better mood, all right? And you'll probably experience more optimism. B, as a result of that, you'll be more open to connections, networking, meeting people. Again, having a good time. That also fulfills a certain need in the hierarchy. Yeah, connection, people, being a part, what was it, belonging or something? Love and belonging. Ooh, you got the next tier right there, right? You could go and do a job, okay? A job you hate. You might be able to cover the bottom 2 tiers, maybe. But what else was in that second tier? Health? Yeah. Guys, if you're unhappy, the likelihood of having poor health, whether it be physical or mental, is way higher. Do not underestimate the power of just being happy. So pick something that you are good at that you can be paid for. Just get the ball rolling. More on this in a minute. The advantage to choosing something like this is that you will further hone your skills. And in doing so, you will be able to move around within a company, or perhaps even move over to another company. And maybe when you do that, you'll be able to find a job that's more close to your authentic self. And maybe when you do that, you'll actually be able to find a job that's more in alignment with who you actually are and your purpose. So actually, if you take another quick look at the diagram, you'll see that you're more likely to feel a sense of passion when you do something that you're good at. And you might have also noticed that in the passion part of the diagram, it's made up of the 2 sections, what you're good at and what you love, right? So if you're doing something that you experience some passion in, which is, like I said, the result of you doing something that you're good at, then, what if a door opens for you in something that you love? AKA, you could discover something that you love even. And then, what if that opened another door? Again, taking a look at the diagram, because if you're doing something you love, well then maybe that tips into your mission. And then that opens another door. And lo and behold, you slowly, layer by layer, peel back your purpose. And it reveals itself to you in the most beautiful way. And you didn't have to spend too much time worrying about it and worrying about how you were going to get your food on the table. What's beautiful about this approach as well is that you actually gain a decent amount of financial freedom as you move through the layers. Let me explain it to you if you don't fully get it. You start out doing something you're good at. Maybe it's not your favorite thing in the world, but you're all right at it. You can do it. right? And it pays you. You hone your skill set, you keep showing up, more on this in a minute. You're like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm not super happy here. I want to try something else. Because of your amazing skill set and your charming ability to work with anybody, you then go and apply for a new job, perhaps within the same company, perhaps within a different company. And then in doing this job, you realize, oh my gosh, I actually love doing this specific job. There's something here for me. It's kind of speaking to me, or at least I'm having a very good time. You know, work doesn't feel so long anymore. I semi look forward to it. And then someone spots your work and they're like, ooh, okay, I like what you got going on there. What do you think about joining me for this opportunity? And then you go, you try the opportunity and you realize, oh my gosh, what have I been doing this whole time? This is where I want to go. I don't know what it is. It doesn't really make sense to me, but I just feel like I need to be there. And you go. And then, ooh, more questions come to me. What is this? I need to dig deeper. I need to discover more of this. And then, lo and behold, you find yourself, as time passes, getting closer and closer and closer and closer to your own sense of ikigai. Now, obviously, this is the perfect, ideal way, but it's actually more common than you think. How many stories have you heard of where people are like, oh, you won't believe what I was doing in my early 20s as a job? But these little experiences here and there where they got skills from here and they tried that thing and they didn't like it, but then it kind of let them into something else, and then they met somebody and da-da-da-da-da-da. You just got to make the first step. You got to put yourself in the right place. So don't worry if your purpose can't pay you and that's what you really need from it. Do something that you're good at that pays you and stay open to what comes your way. But Micah, I don't know what I'm good at. Okay, that's fine. Just try something. What are you naturally interested in? Keep in mind, if you're watching this, you're probably young. 16, 17, even if you're not, 35, 40, whatever. Okay, whatever. You don't have to be good at everything. You don't have to be great. If you're young, like a teenager, I would tell you, people expect you to be shit. All right, so the bar is like low for you. So don't worry about that. Don't worry. Employers, for the most part, especially when you're first starting out, I'm not going to say coming out of a degree, that's slightly different, but when you don't have a degree, they just want to know that you're going to be there, first of all, because let me tell you, I've been working since I was 15. I'm 23. I've seen a variety of work ethics. Okay. I've been somewhat a manager. Okay. And I can tell you, employers really like it if you can just show up. Yeah? Show up on time. Show up with a willingness to learn. An excitement to embrace what there is and go with the flow. To have a strong work ethic. So what if you don't know anything? Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to learn? Yeah? And the other thing is, if you're shit, like if you're absolutely rubbish, keep at it. Keep at it. Because when you're rubbish at something, it does sour your experience, especially when you've gone in, you're like, I'm so excited about this, and then you keep making mistakes. Do you want to know how many jobs I've done since I was 15? I need to count this, hold on. 1 second. I want to say 6 or 7, something like that. I can't remember. That's all right. You know, for someone my age, that's not too bad. In a variety of environments. Okay? I cannot tell you how many times I've made mistakes. How many times I've failed. How many times I've embarrassed myself, so to speak, or literally, in front of a customer, in front of my teammates. Oh my God, I could not even tell you. But you know what's kept me around and alive and surviving and thriving and confident all this time? Is the fact that I don't quit. I don't quit. I want to be there. I want to learn. Even with all the mistakes, I'm going to keep trying. And then what? What can anyone say to you that you don't already know? What, you're bad at your job? Yeah, I know. But I'm here. You want me to leave? Like, you know? Keep showing up. Keep showing up. Have some strength about yourself. Keep showing up. You'll be fine. And before you know it, you won't be so rubbish. And if you're older, honey, please check out, I think her name is like Jen Gottlieb or something like, I need to learn how to pronounce her second name. Poor thing. I'm awful at this. But what was it? She says like, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20, stuff like that. But like, you don't need to be great to start. I've said something similar where it's like you don't need perfection, you just need progress. So what if you're a beginner? Embrace it. I go to the gym. I'm not a beginner now because I started like 7-8 months ago and then I took a long break. So I taught myself a lot. But back then, even now, honey, I'm still learning. You think when I see all these like muscly people and like these girls that I know are younger than me but just like look like they're ready to step out onto a catwalk or like do a bikini competition, you think I don't get intimidated? Of course I do. Of course I do. But you know what I embrace? I embrace the fact that I'm a beginner. Guys, look at my channel. You see how chaotic it is. I was filming on photo booth for crying out loud for so long. Okay? Embrace being a beginner. Embrace your beginnerness. Because one day, when you get through the difficult stuff, you get the privilege of looking back and being like, I made it. I did that for myself and on my own. Thank you. Oh, and I wrote this as well. The skills you hone from not giving up on yourself is not to be underestimated either. You are guaranteed to learn, but more on that later. So, what do you do if your job feels purposeless to you, but you still want to experience purpose and meaning in your life? Or, what do you do if you're working your way up and all you can really afford to do is the profession part of the Ikigai diagram, aka the part where you do what you're good at and you're paid for it? What do you do if tapping into your purpose feels like such a far away concept? Well, one thing you have to remember is that purpose does not need to coincide with your career. You can still choose to live a purposeful life. You have to ask yourself, what gives your life meaning? And I mean your life for you. For example, you could be a mother and you could say, my children give my life meaning. And that might be the case, yes, absolutely. But it also might not. You need to ask yourself, what gives your life meaning for you? For you. If you remove everybody else out of it for a minute, what are you about on your own? What do you want? And if that's family and kids, great. That's perfectly valid. But this is just an example. You need to ask, what do you want? What is meaningful to you? This is gonna sound morbid, but I'm gonna bring it up. If you were to die, I'm not gonna say necessarily tomorrow, because I think if I say that, then you're probably gonna think, oh, well, I want to meet all my family and friends and do this and eat that. So let's not say that, but let's say if you only had 1 year to live, 1 year to leave a legacy. No pressure. No, you don't give me an answer or give yourself an answer that pleases other people. It can be the most mundane thing. You could just be like, I want to make pottery. Like, it would be that, whatever, right? I had this conversation with a friend a few months ago and I was talking about, like, if my kid turned around and said to me, I want to be a pineapple cutter or something like that, or a shoe polisher. You never know. You never know what floats people's boats. But you gotta ask yourself, what is a meaningful life to you? Yeah? Not what you think it should be. What is it? Don't run away from that. Now what you want to do, if you figured that out or you have a couple of ideas, ask yourself how you can incorporate this into your life. Maybe through some volunteering, maybe through something online or an IRL hobby. Maybe you join a club. Maybe what you actually crave is connection and giving back to people. See how you can incorporate that. That's actually something that I really deeply craved for a very, very long time. Last year, I really struggled a lot with my mental health, and one of the biggest things that I felt I struggled with was just feeling like I had no meaning, I had no purpose. I was doing a degree, but I didn't feel like I was directly impacting people in a positive way, or in the positive way that I needed to. Perhaps, yes, with my degree later, I could have definitely done something, but I knew there was more I had to do. I knew there was more I had to say, and that's my channel. Maybe try reading about what's purposeful to you. Study it, learn about it that way. But also, guys, keep in mind that it can actually be incredibly draining and emotionally exhausting to monetize on your purpose. I'm not just talking passion, I'm talking purpose, because your heart is really in it. It's the type of thing where you don't get to switch off. A 9 to 5, for the most part, out of hours, you're out of hours. You're uncontactable. If you're on holiday, you're on holiday. The company has to find a way to survive. But monetizing your purpose, that's a vocation. You're dedicating yourself to it, your life, right? Ask yourself if that's something you actually want to do. It could be a huge blessing that you only do it part-time. But remember, in all of this, you really do know what is right for you. It is never a waste of time to invest in your purpose, whether it be a career change or just figuring out a way to incorporate it on the side after your 9 to 5 or when you put the kids to bed. It is entirely yours, but that is why I encourage you to fully lean into it and to make the best of it. So given all of this, how to figure out what to do after you leave school and if university is actually for you. First things first, how do you know if your degree choice is actually for you? Ideally, you don't want to be thinking, oh, it could be great to know about XYZ, insert degree topics, or I'm curious to know about XYZ. If you're not also thinking, I want to know, maybe even I need to know about XYZ, because you are so interested and have so many natural questions about the subject, or you have chosen a vocation in this. Listen to me, honey. Listen, there are going to be some key moments throughout this video, and this is one of them. A degree is long going yet. Alright? I'm serious. You don't believe me? Ask anyone. Ask anyone who's studying. They'll tell you. Afterwards, once they've graduated and they're thinking about maybe taking a gap year, or the reality of job hunting hasn't hit them yet, or they're just celebrating their graduation with all their friends and they've gone on holiday or whatever, then they're going to be like, oh my god, it flew by! I don't know how I got so old so fast, oh my god! And it's like, just like childbirth, like the stress and pain of it just completely, it's like it never happened. Ask anyone who's studying right now. Oh honey, they'll tell you. It's long. The days are long, the nights are even longer. Okay, mixing a hangover maybe. You know, a little stress, a little bit more. Just a little bit, oh, oops. Hold your in. Yeah. To do a degree in something you don't actually give a crap about, if you actually manage to do that without completely obliterating your mental health, I guess I applaud you, but I also really just want to give you a huge hug, because clearly you are on some mission of some sort. It takes guts to do that. Choosing to do a degree that is not actually for you is not for the faint of heart, because you spend a lot of time doing it, and a lot of time doing it alone. Okay? You need to know that you care about this thing. You know, maybe you're the type of person, you're just incredibly disciplined, and you're like, you know what, I'm good at studying, I'm good at learning how to study, I'm not worried, you could put me in any degree subject and I would ace it, because that's just who I am and that's how I function. Great. But you're probably, well, if that's you, if that's, you know, that type of person is probably not watching this type of video, quite honestly. Yeah. More on the degree thing in a minute. Alternatively, if you cannot find a degree or do not want to do a degree and what is either your purpose or profession overlap, like we said, what you're good at and what you're being paid for, then these are some of the things that I advise you to do. Always stay learning. Unless you want to be a shoe. You want the personality of a shoe. You want the brain of a cardboard box. Is that what you want? I don't think so. So, listen to me. You must stay learning regardless of what you do, unless you want to be a shoe. Or, as I wrote here, you are happy to work a dead-end job that will likely leave you with a higher risk of being depressed and broke. I'm not dissing you, I'm just stating the facts. Some people are very happy doing, I don't know, I guess you could call it like a regular job or the same job for the whole of their lives. And I respect that, I do. There's actually a lot of, you know, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like, I respect that. You know those people that have just been doing something, they put it with so much shit and they're good people still, and they have strong work ethics. Like, it takes all kinds of people to make the world go round, and I'm not shading that whatsoever. But again, I think the people that are watching this video are probably not the people that are doing those jobs or looking to stay doing those jobs for a long amount of time. So guys, remember, if you are, you know, really think about it. I worked said somewhat dead-end job, you know, and all these jobs that I did. Do you need a lip gloss top up? Maybe. And all these jobs that I did, I a lot of them were dead end, and my parents talked about it a couple of times, and I just kind of like swept it under the rug because I didn't want to look at it. It scared me, They'd ask me things like, you can't do this forever, well, actually, that wasn't a question, was it? They'd say things, right? And then, and I knew that it was true. I mean, I come home from like a crazy day at work, where you're lucky if your boss gives a damn about you. And I had a brilliant, boss. I've had a few amazing bosses, but one brilliant boss that's actually my friend. You're lucky. You're lucky if you get that, because that will be the only thing really, and maybe your teammates, that keeps you afloat in a job like that. And of course, if you have lovely customers or whatever, whoever your clients are, there are things, but in a dead-end job, if you don't have those things and you're naturally an ambitious person, I'm not saying you're amazing at getting what you want or like your execution is fantastic, but there are dreams that you have that you want to accomplish. Staying in a job like that, it depletes you. Because what happens is you're living in this world in your head, which was for me, that was my situation. But there were all these things that I wanted to do, right? But not only are you in an environment where you're more likely to bump into people who couldn't care less about your dreams or any dreams whatsoever, and if you exude any sort of radiance or qualities that embody the version of you that would live in that dream reality, these people would be the first to tear it down. And I think I've discussed this in another video, but basically you're going to be more likely to work around people that are not of a similar mind, I guess you could say, and that can be very demoralizing. Is that a word? Heartbreaking, soul-sucking. And in addition to that, your environment, no matter how much work you put in, no matter how hard you work, no matter your work ethic, what you stand for, how you go above and beyond, there's no real reward for it. The only reward you get is perhaps again, I can only really speak off my experience and give mine as an analogy, but the customer complimenting you, or a few customers complimenting you. And, it's a beautiful thing on its own. Like, good should be done for the sake of good, but also personal brand-wise. Like, you never lose by behaving in an honorable way towards people and maintaining a good sense of character and all. But it's I think the word is demoralizing when you're giving your all and you're working hard and your environment cannot provide you with the doors, let alone even recognize that you want to witness those doors or get to those doors or see those doors. It's very hard to stay happy and thriving. So unless you're okay with that, you must stay learning. You must get work experience. Open your, honestly, no matter who you are, work experience, honey. You can never go wrong with that, really. Very rare too. Open your mind and educate yourself through podcasts, books, documentaries. That's been a real thing for me recently, getting into documentaries. I'm trying to make it a new hobby of mine. Make sure you follow people on social media or whatever app you like to use, or even if it's just books that you like to read. People who are in the field or fields that interest you, and people that are better than you. Explore your passions as well, because you might find a role model or two, and they might even end up giving you a few ideas about what you want to do with your career, or just inspiring new ways of thought. And guys, have conversations with people. I can make a whole other video about social anxiety and conversing with people, but really, there is so much you can learn from people, and so much you wouldn't know. How could you, from just looking at them or having a surface level conversation? You have to remember, at age 17, 18, all that you have learned is what other people have really told you to learn. I mean, yes, you may have chosen your GCSEs or whatever country you're in, whatever the equivalent is, your A levels, maybe your degree, but at this point, it's people spoon feeding you effectively. It's them telling you, you need to learn like this much, this way, and this content. And so now it is up to you to take your learning outside of the education environment and directly into your hands so that you can incorporate it into your life that makes you feel satisfied. It's actually not as boring as it sounds as well. I was a little burnt out, I'm not gonna lie, after school. I think many of us were. It's quite normal, especially after exam seasons and stuff like that, and with the pressure that comes with like trying to get into uni, and it has to be the right uni, it has to be my first choice, or else I'm gonna be depressed. And honey, the amount of people I know that didn't get into their first choice, you're fine. You'll be fine. Happiness is most of the time where you choose to experience happiness. The grass is greener where you water it. The reason that it's actually not as boring as you think it might be is because you have a natural interest. You have a natural interest, you get to take charge, and because of that, you'll be able to flourish better. The second thing that I would recommend you do, as mentioned previously, but I made like a whole section for this because I think it's really important, get work experience, preferably in a field that interests you. So one thing that you really need to note, and I said this to my sister when she was leaving school, something I wish I had known, is that your career starts from when you leave school. Your career. Okay? And this is not to put more pressure on you and say you got to figure everything out. That is literally, if that's what you think as well, like that is, honey, no, I'm trying to relieve some pressure off of you. Okay? But what I'm saying is you have the power now. You don't just have to do what everyone else is doing and just do what people tell you to do. I get it. There are some gray areas with this as well. I'm of Asian culture. Like, it was really hard for me to even consider not going to uni. Like, that's whole can of worms. But you need to take accountability as much as you can. Take accountability now, because your journey, yours as an individual, zoom out, family, fade away, friends, school, society, your life, your journey starts now, okay? You get to decide. People may not like you or your decision. They may be disappointed, but please take this in for a minute. Careers that we have now, as Gen Z, the majority of them, people who are advising us, did not have. Okay? So the advice that they're gonna give us, most of the time, is outdated, or at the very least, incredibly biased. So what does it matter if your version of success does not align with theirs? Remember, you can appreciate what people are telling you, but you don't have to listen to it. You have 2 ears for a reason, honey. The other thing is, you make your own decisions. They might be disappointed, angry, they won't like you in the short term. But in the long term, they will probably respect you. And at the very least, in the long term, you will probably respect yourself. Remember, guys, no amount of work experience is going to hurt you. Plenty of people come out of uni having 0 work experience, maybe 1 internship. Whereas you, having maybe decided not to go to uni or do a degree apprenticeship instead or something, could come up with a variety of experience, that too in different environments, where you can actually gain hard and soft skills, the latter being far more appreciated now than it was back in the day. In addition, you'll have your own money. You'll learn how to manage your own finances, how to handle yourself, and how to be a professional. Guys, you are guaranteed to gain transferable skills, gain life experience, learn stuff about other people, or at the very least yourself. Also, another key thing to note is it's the best way to build a little bit of self-respect. Not only will you like yourself more, you'll actually have something to show for yourself. And in case you're interested, it's actually also one of the quickest ways to prove people wrong and get them to shut up. Also, aside from job-specific skills, perhaps what you could call the hard skills, employers also value people that can take the initiative, that are incredibly resilient, that know how to work well in a team, that are happy to learn, and that are dutiful to a company. And guys, that doesn't only come from a degree. The third thing that I would recommend is that you consider deferring university or just going later altogether, which you are allowed to do in case nobody has told you. Listen to me. There will be plenty of people telling you that you can't do it, that you will never go back, that it will be the worst experience in the world and you'll just end up dropping out and it is not blah, blah, blah. And yeah, of course it's gonna be hard. If you decide to defer and come back a year later and you've taken an academic break from frying your brain, of course there's gonna be an adjustment period. But if you really want to do something, you will. So at the end of the day, don't listen to what other people have to say when it comes to this, because it's not them that's going to be doing the degree. It's not them that's going to be doing the late nights, the hard work overnights, okay? It's you. So if you are not in a place to do it, don't apologize for that. It's okay. Rip the band-aid off now so you don't have to suffer later, babe. Plus, if and when you do go back, keep in mind your environment. You will be in an environment which fosters hard work, which has all of the right things in place to make it so that you are able to hit the ground running, or at the very least have some sort of linear progress. Everything you need is there for you to succeed, especially if you're in first year or a foundation year. My God, I can't even begin to tell you. Take it from someone who went to university and failed it a couple of times. It is not worth going to do something that your heart is not fully in, something that you are not fully committed to. At the end of the day, whatever you choose to do, however, it is your decision. You do not get to turn around and blame other people if things don't go the way you wanted. You don't get to turn around and say, it's because of you, or this happened, and XYZ. It's your choice. You gotta own it. So make a decision that you're proud of. Ask yourself, what is it that I really want? What do I want out of my life? Now is the time you get to be selfish. Don't let people convince you otherwise. You get to be selfish when it comes to making a big financial decision like this. And not just financial, but emotional. If a degree is what's going to make you happy and it's a part of your success, then great, go for it. But if it's not, that's equally all right. And perhaps you don't want to go to a brick uni, but you still want a degree. No problem. The OU is still a thing in the UK. Maybe you have an equivalent in your country, but online qualifications exist and you can definitely be successful with that and in your life and with your career that way too. That too is an option. So don't worry about it. The last thing I have in this section is that it is so important to realize that when you say this is what I'm going to do as a degree, it is not the same as saying this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Similarly, if you say this is what I'm going to do as my degree, it's not the same as saying as this is what I want to do for my first job or for any of my jobs. It's just something I'm interested in. More on that in a minute. What if I'm still confused, Micah? Okay, honey, I got you. Now listen, you can't force your purpose to come and knock on the door and come and greet you before it's ready. Okay? The only thing that's actually going to invite it in is time and life experience, if it hasn't already come by. That is it. You can pray on it, but worrying about it is honestly not worth it. You do not need to waste time stressing about it. I can promise you that. If you're not to know right now, you're not to know for a reason. Let it be that way. Focus your energy on making the most of today. Find passion in the now, and your purpose will naturally unfold. Oh my gosh, guys, please remember this, but people experience career changes all the time. What do you think happened with COVID? How many people lost their jobs and were, I don't know, back to square one, if that? I actually had a conversation with a careers counselor a while ago, and we were talking about careers, and she told me something. I don't know, is it an analogy? How do you describe it? She said that there's this common misconception that the way that a career will develop, if you have a graph, for example, and at the bottom you have time, and then you have, I guess you could say, career success, or whatever, however you want to measure like that in your mind. People assume that, say you graduate or you leave school, that it's going to work like this. That with time and age and experience, it's just going to work like this. Now, maybe yes, to an extent. But one thing she pointed out is the reality of how a career usually goes is it goes like this, then it goes like this, then it goes like this, then it squiggles a bit, then it goes like this, then it goes like this, then it comes down here, then it comes up, then it comes... Basically, sometimes there is no direction. You cannot make sense of it. You don't know what is going on, but everything is working out in your favor. Okay? So don't put so much pressure on making the perfect decision. Remember, people are always changing their jobs. They are always changing their careers. It is more common than you think, and it's made out to be that once you reach 21 or 22, you'll figure everything out and you'll have the perfect job and the perfect career and you just know what you're going to be doing. That's not necessarily the case. And what's funny is you might even have your dream job, but you might not actually be happy or in purpose. So guys, it's so easy to remember this, to look at something from the outside, maybe your older sibling, maybe people you follow on YouTube, maybe, I don't know, just success stories you've heard of other people and just think that they had it all figured out. You don't know that. Chances are they didn't. And let me tell you something, from what I've witnessed of people, the people that think they have everything figured out, like really everything figured out, and they get a little cocky with it, life likes to, you know, throw them a surprise every now and then to get them to release control and realize that there is more to this than they think. To get them to dig deeper. Purpose and passion, it's not so simple always, and it's always evolving. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. I can tell you, no two people are the same. Your journey is unique, so embrace it and make the best of it for you. And remember, in your 20s, even if it's not chaos, you're definitely going to be spending some time figuring out yourself, your life, what's important to you. So really don't stress about the purpose thing. It will find you, not the other way around. Let me tell you, at least half the people in their 20s do not know what their purpose is, and they're still trying to figure it out. I was actually talking to somebody recently, and this is what I was saying, is that your purpose can evolve. It can change with time. You can discover your purpose at 35, at 50, at 70. It evolves with you. And I'll get onto this just in a little bit, but this person I was talking to, they were talking about how their purpose has changed over the years, over the decades. I mean, decades. Guys, if you're young, can you please just take a minute to realize that you've only been alive for like 2 decades and aware of your consciousness for like one of them, which is like half of your existence, which feels like a long time, but really in the grand span of things, when you look at your whole potential 80 years of life, that's really not a long amount of time to know yourself, right? So please, move that deadline you have in your mind of having everything figured out to a lot later. Do yourself a favor and do that. You're young. Like, I know I'm 23, but like, I literally just want to tell you, if you're 17, 18 and you're stressing about this stuff, you have probably the advantage of youth, of like being able to learn things quickly and like way more time than me. I can tell you that. Yeah. Enjoy it. Make the most of it. Be grateful for it. You don't need to worry about having everything figured out. That's not actually important, and it's not conducive to your health, and it's not conducive towards building a career that's sustainable for you. The key to living a successful life is not having everything figured out. It's being able to work with what you have and making the best of that. Sometimes your purpose can actually be revealed to you when you look back as well. And that can only come with you moving forward. I wrote here, in order to look back, you need to move forward and live. I wish someone had told me that sooner. You don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to make the perfect decision. You can pivot. This degree or job title does not define you, and you can define your own version of success. So take the time to ask yourself, if no one else's opinion mattered in this world, what would I be interested in? So honestly speaking, if the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about what would I do if no one else's opinion mattered, if no one else was around, yada yada, is just lying in bed and doing nothing, well, I would honestly reconsider that as a life choice. I mean, I understand it as a feeling and wanting to do that, but would I actually suggest that you do that? No. Beyond a summer, no. Because the thing is, you are going to get a summer. You're going to get a whole summer to sleep and do nothing, unless you're getting work experience perhaps, or going traveling. Okay, say you take that gap year, right? And you do what you're dreaming of right now, which is sleeping and doing nothing. Okay, great. But I can tell you that it's not going to be too long before you fall into some sort of depression. Okay? I'm speaking from a been there, done that type of thing. As humans, we are meant to constantly be growing, expanding, learning. And if you give all of that up and you sort of exist in this sort of vacuum of nothingness and you're just basically a dopamine addict, the level of satisfaction you actually experience, I'm not saying this to diss you, I'm not saying this to judge you, it is actually very understandable to crave that, to want that, but I actually think it's better to stay in a state of craving that. It's like a sort of leave yourself wanting more type of thing. Like dessert, you never want to be overly satisfied, because over satisfaction, basically you're feeling sick at that point. You want to hit a sweet spot with it. Leave yourself kind of maybe wanting more. Similarly with this, there's only so much relaxing you can do until your existence starts to feel purposeless and hollow and empty, and you wonder why the days feel so great even though the sun is outside. Or sun is out. Not the sun is inside. Not that the sun is inside ever. Anyway, you don't want to stagnate. It's a very painful place to be. It's one thing being lost, it's another to stagnate. Stagnating is a choice. Being lost isn't. Lost is confusing, painful, but there are books for it. You know, there's a way to live with it. There's a way to move through it. Stagnating, however, that's a choice. Don't do that to yourself. You deserve better than that. It's understandable to want to move at a slower pace, but make sure whatever you pick still has you moving. Laying in bed all day, scrolling, watching TV shows, playing video games, eating crap is not good enough. Not for an extended amount of time. I personally ask you to do better than that for your own good. Jordan Peterson actually said something like this, where he was talking about making a change, like a career change or a study change or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was about. But he said the way that you measure whether or not it's a good decision is ask yourself, am I leaving the first thing for something that's equally as difficult. Like something like that. Like, for example, say I don't know. Say I was studying a chemistry degree, okay? And I'm like, this is really horrible, it's really difficult. I think I'm just gonna leave uni, okay? Is that a good decision? Well, if I leave uni, what am I gonna be doing? Am I going to be doing something that's equally as difficult? I guess that's maybe not the best example, but sometimes when we're going through pain or discomfort, it's really easy to want to opt out. It's more than understandable, actually, to want to opt out. The majority of people do. I love going to the gym and exercising, but I can tell you every time I'm doing it, I hate it and I wonder why I chose to do this, you know? But I still actually love it. So our brain can trick us and tell us a lot of things. Sometimes it's not even tricking us, it's just telling us facts like this shit hurts. But you have to use your smarts and sense. I don't mean common sense, I don't mean what you should do, what other people think is logical for you. I just mean use your own actual genuine sense to know if you're BSing yourself. Because it's understandable to want to do nothing. And maybe, yes, that's exactly what you need for a month, for 2 months, heck, for 6 months, maybe. But beyond that, to actually live that as a lifestyle, it's very damaging. It's very damaging to a human being, and I really would not recommend it. So guys, we made it to the conclusion. Thank you if you're still watching. For my younger people watching, or the people who are confused, the question you need to answer at 17, 18 is not what is my purpose, but rather what do I want to do with the beginning of my career? That is it. For some people, that can look like getting a degree because they believe it's going to help them in their life, and it actually will, and great, go for it. And honestly, sometimes there is no harm in getting a degree if you're okay with the debt. If your reasoning is just solely that perhaps you want to get away from home, you want to make new friends, you just want the uni experience, you want to learn something new and interesting, or learn how to learn, or something of that sort, or you just want to postpone the whole getting a job thing. As long as you're willing to do the work and you're happy to pay the debt, that is also valid. Go for it. Remember, you can always come back and study, but coming back and making money is a little bit harder to do. Like coming back to the opportunity of it. If you want to make money, get on it. If you want a qualification alongside, have a look at degree apprenticeships, but don't go rushing into stuff just to please other people because it's not worth it. You will break yourself. And for my older people watching who want to know how to advise younger people or people who are confused, remember, we don't want to make young people feel judged or under pressure any more than they already do. Questions like the ones that I mentioned before about what do you want to do, what's that one thing, etc. Maybe now you can see why that might be unhelpful for a 17-year-old, because the majority of 17-year-olds really don't know. And the best way you can approach this subject is just with a lot of empathy, but also clear adult guidance to help these people to make the best decisions for themselves. Not for you, not for their parents, but for themselves. Those questions, at the beginning, it's not that they aren't ever useful, but they're not helpful for a 17-year-old who has to make a practical decision, who's not just philosophizing about who they want to be and has the time on their hands once they've got their career going, or once they've got their degree going in the background. Like, this is somebody who's got to make a decision. These questions about philosophizing about who they want to be and stuff is not going to help them. A lot of these young people, they, up until this point, haven't had to think for themselves. They haven't had such a supposedly high pressure decision put on their heads before. It's been their parents helping them make decisions, or their teachers. And now all of a sudden they have to make this decision overnight about what they're going to do with the rest of their life. I mean, it feels like the weight of the world is on their shoulders. And I really feel it's our responsibility as older people to relieve them of some of that pressure and remind them it's really not that deep. Another thing, a lot of these questions also sort of promote the idea that your career or your job title is attached to your identity, or more importantly, your self-worth as a human being. And you could say maybe that's a bit far-fetched, but it's not so much the questions, but it's more so the responses to the children's answers. A child could turn around and say, oh, I want to do this, 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 and study this, this, this. And the adult will turn around and, either give a look of approval or whatever, or the alternative or the opposite, if they're the majority of, they're the majority type. I had a few teachers, I will tell you now, they were the most patient, amazing. I'm not talking about these people today. I'm talking about the majority that did not know what to do with me and a few of my peers. So what you need to remember is that these people, young people, they look to you. They look to you to help them, to advise them. You're not God, okay? I'm sorry, I had to say it, but you're not. You know, you don't judge what's right and wrong, okay? What you need to do is coach them. Figure out what it is that they're interested in, what they want, and then use your resources and knowledge and wisdom to help guide them to make the best decision for them. It doesn't mean that you encourage them to do the thing you think is best for them, but it means that you help them to find what they think is best for them. And actually, a quick note that I wrote down here is I found it so funny how when I talked about what I didn't want to do, because my God, I could not tell you, hundreds of people asked me what I wanted to do after my degree or what I just wanted to do in general. And when I said I don't know, I can't tell you how many adults that were the same age as my teachers, or parents even at times, they would say, you know, oh yeah, that's, you know, same. Am I at your age? I had no idea. Oh, it's understandable. You could try this. And I'm not saying everybody, but the vast majority, my darling, they were so understanding. It was just within the school environment or sometimes at home where I felt this insane pressure to give the perfect answer. It's okay if you don't know. If someone asks you, what do you want to do with your life? And you say, I don't know, that's not a wrong answer. There is no wrong answer. You know, live it. You know, don't worry. You don't need other people's approval to validate what it is that you want to do with your life. Does that make sense? You do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. I know it's easier said than done. You know, even me, if I was in your shoes hearing that, I'd be like, you don't get it. It's not that simple. As much as you can, do what you want to do. Just because someone doesn't want to do what's conventional, it does not mean that they are not a hard worker or that they are not smart. They just want to do things differently. Let's stop shaming people into being normal in the 21st century. We should know by now that that is totally overrated. I wrote here a while ago, I'm not shitting on degrees here, but what I will crap on is older people telling younger people that they have to do something, that they have to be something to be successful. That is the biggest lie that is sold to young people, and so many of them end up depressed, effed up, and in debt as a result of it. We don't need any more kids going through that. Again, to reiterate, degrees are not a bad thing. Degrees can be wonderful. I think especially, you know, I think if you're living in the Western world, it's a lot easier to make do without one. You know, there's still so much opportunity. There is still so much, like the government will still take care of you in a way if worst comes to worst or whatever. The society just makes it so that things are more accessible to you still. There's help. If you're in another country, however, like a third world country, I don't know all of this, but if you're in a country where it's not considered the West.
Hi guys, I want to apologize. I said third world, I don't know what I was saying. I meant developing. I googled it just to double check, and I read that it's actually an offensive term to use, third world, so I really sincerely apologize. That's just my own ignorance, and I'm glad that I checked. So I mean to say developing, a lower income country. Is that right? I want to make sure I'm not being rude. Developing and lower middle or low income. Yeah, that's what I mean to say. I'm really sorry if I offended anybody. I've kept it in just so you know it's because it's part of what I'm saying, but I have corrected myself and I won't be saying that again, and I'm really sorry. And if there's anything else that I say that is offensive, guys, please let me know. I'm always willing to learn. But yeah, I just wanted to jump in and sort of just know that I've corrected that, and I'm really sorry if I offended anybody.
Getting a degree can be incredibly useful, you know, and it's really easy for me to sit here and, growing up in the West, I could sit here and say, oh, you don't need one, but I mean, I actually don't even agree. I think that the majority of people, the masses, would benefit from going to university, but it's not just to do with university, it's just making that big choice about what you want to do with your life. We need to dismantle that, because first of all, if it was one decision of what you get to do with your life, it's like in, what's that thing, Divergent, where Triss has to decide if she's like, have you ever seen that? Where I was gonna say shameless. I don't think that's the one. I mean, maybe. Oh my God, I'm awful. Shameless. Abnegation, all of that, like you have to choose your faction. It is so sort of like finite. If it was that, then yes, of course, it's a big decision. But it's not. When you're deciding whether or not to go to university, it's an influential decision. But Will it destroy your career? Not necessarily, no. Depends what you want. If you want to go and be a dentist, you might have a hard time, I'll tell you that. Again, it's a vocation. That's from earlier on in the video. But it really depends on what you want to do and who you are and your work ethic. So you could go to university, but you could have a crappy work ethic. Yeah, that's not good for anybody. Even if you scrape by, you just about graduate, what good are you really? You know, even if you get the references, you go to a place of work, if you have no work ethic, eventually you're going to get yourself fired. Or if you want to be self-employed, well, eventually that's not going to go very well for you. A work ethic is a work ethic at the end of the day. You know, so it really is a multitude of factors, and I wish that there was more of a all-encompassing approach for young people so that they didn't feel like they had to get it right. You don't have to get it right. In fact, you're more than welcome to get it wrong. Honey, you're more than welcome to get it wrong. Because it's through getting it wrong, it's through failing that you learn. And I actually had this quote today. I think it was the Nelson Mandela one, if I'm not mistaken. Something like, I never lose. I only win or I learn. Something like that. I like that. It's a little cocky, but I like it. Hey guys, this is me later. I just want to apologize sincerely for my makeup. I don't know what happened. Sorry, there was cereal stuck in the middle of my throat. I don't know what happened, but somehow throughout the course of the video, whilst I was drinking my wine, my lipstick just turned into, I don't even know. Well, I don't know what that was. It was just abysmal. If you're wondering why I sound drunk, it's because it's 2:30 in the morning and I'm exhausted. But I just had a 3.5 hour conversation with somebody. And it was really nice. It was really, really, really nice. Really, really, I've never done that before, but that was really nice. Anyway, that's irrelevant right now. But I'm sorry about my lipstick. I'm actually so appalled and embarrassed for my life here because, you know, I look better now. I took it off after. I didn't even realize, guys. I didn't even realize. And then I looked at myself in the mirror after. I was like, what happened? Like, all my lipstick just smudged. So I think I've learned my lesson. Like, when you do red, try not to overline too much. Like, especially when you're using gloss, because that was not cute. Anyway, I'm really tired. What is going on? Did I smudge my eyeliner? I'm just tired. I'm going, guys. I'm going. Enjoy the rest of the video. Bye. I love you. Guys, this is me a few days later. I know I'm jumping in again, but I'm laughing. I can't take myself seriously with the makeup. I'm so sorry. I was meant to be getting better with every video. This is appalling. I'm so sorry. If it helps you to concentrate, just don't look at me. Like, leave my video in the background, put your headphones on or something, and go somewhere. I look like a literal clown. I'm so sorry. I'm never gonna do that makeup again, ever. It was horrendous. I actually, I didn't explain it very well, but it wasn't actually lipstick. I only went in with a lip liner. And I think actually I dabbed a bit of lipstick in this area, but it wasn't all lipstick. It was mostly lip liner and gloss. And I think something about the combination, it just bled. Like, I literally saw it when I looked up at the mirror. It was like bleeding out. Like, that should not be happening. So I didn't even overline it that much. It was literally, I mean, I think by the time I was done with the gloss, I did go over it as well. So I think I'd probably overlined a little bit, but most of my overlining was just in my normal area. That was horrendous. I'm so sorry. If it's very distracting for you, it's distracting for me, but I'm focusing on it. If it's distracting for you, just leave it in the background. Or just try and focus on what I'm saying, please, because I really did work very hard on trying to give you guys the best with this video. Sorry, it's a long one already. Back to it. Yeah, thank you for watching. Lastly, remember, key points. It is better to do something than to do nothing. That way, at least you will gather data about yourself and the world and probably make some money, which doesn't hurt either. You don't need to overthink it and have the perfect answer like I already said. Let it unfold as it needs to and surrender to the process. Follow your passions as much as you can, but don't stress about purpose. If you don't know what it is, it does not matter. It does not mean that you will not live a meaningful life, or that you can't be happy, or that you won't be successful, you won't be fulfilled. Ugh, not at all. And just because purpose has not come knocking at your door yet, it does not mean it's not going to. I was stressing at 17. I'm now 23 and only just piecing my purpose together. And even I don't have the full picture yet. All I know is that YouTube is a little part of it, and that's why I'm here making these videos. Everybody has their time. So, the last thing is just, I want to wish you luck, guys. I want to wish you luck on your future endeavors. I'd imagine a lot of you probably have exams, your results day just around the corner. Good luck. And I don't just mean like, you know, good luck so that you impress everybody else. Just good luck in the sense that I hope you're happy with yourself. You know, try your best, obviously, give it your all. I'm not going to say, like, surrender and this and sit back and do nothing and, you know, just be like, oh, everything's going to be fine anyway. No, come on, you worked hard, you made it this far. You know, go and kick butt. But just, you don't need to worry about these types of things. You know, adulting and life is more than that. Yeah, your career is a big component of it, absolutely. But you'll piece it together. It's a process. It's not an overnight problem to be solved. Okay? I really tried to get everything into this video for you, and funnily enough, this video has kind of been in the works for about 4 years at this point, and I could never quite find the right words to say. I filmed different variations of it, many of them in which I was crying. But now I sit here 6 years later, and I wish I'd had this video when I was perhaps your age, just to assure me that everything would be okay. You don't need to have everything figured out. You really don't. You don't need to have the perfect answer. You don't need to have the answer that's going to please your parents or please your teachers. You just need to be happy with yourself, because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, that's all you really have to live with, is you. You know, you could spend time pleasing everybody else and buy your own place. Wonderful, good. You know, I guess that part of the plan worked out, but you still have to live with yourself. So make decisions that you're proud of. Decisions that you can live with. If you'd think my advice is trash and you'd rather listen to everybody else, then okay, great, but that's also on you. That's your choice. I just want you to be informed, because this was the information that I didn't have. Anyway, guys, good luck for everything, for your whole life, for this moment, for this time. I really wish you all the success and happiness that your journey has to offer you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.